Welcome back to Saltwater Stories. From unlocking the secrets of the deep sea to tracking those fierce storms, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, is the powerhouse agency that protects our oceans, our climate, and even our daily lives in ways you might never expect. We'll be exploring their fascinating work today, and joining me is an expert on NOAA who can help us understand the ins and outs of this amazing organization.
It's great to be here. NOAA is a really fascinating organization. It's not just about science and data. They're about taking action to protect our planet.
Okay, so let's unpack this. NOAA seems to do a lot, but how did it all begin? Where did this agency come from?
Well, NOAA's roots go surprisingly far back. It's a story of how America came to realize that understanding the ocean is key to understanding our whole world. It all started in 1807 with President Thomas Jefferson. He understood that a growing nation with a vast coastline needed to chart its waters. That's when he established the U.S. Coast Survey, which was tasked with mapping the entire coastline.
Can you imagine mapping the entire coastline without GPS? That must have been a monumental task.
Absolutely. It took decades of painstaking work, but it laid the foundation for NOAA's commitment to exploration and understanding the ocean.
So we have President Jefferson to thank for getting the ball rolling on ocean exploration.
Mm-hmm.
What happened next?
Well, as America expanded, so did the need to understand the weather, especially with railroads and ships becoming the lifelines of commerce and transportation.
It makes sense that as we relied more on those things, we needed to know what the weather was going to do.
Exactly. In 1870, the U.S. Weather Bureau was created, and their main job was to predict and warn about severe weather to keep those trains and ships safe. Can you imagine a ship captain trying to navigate a hurricane without a knee warning?
That doesn't sound like a fun trip. So we have the Coast Survey mapping the ocean, the Weather Bureau tracking storms. But what about all the creatures living in the sea?
That's a great question. Back then, many believed the ocean's resources were limitless. But a brilliant marine biologist named Spencer Baird saw things differently. He noticed that fish populations were declining rapidly and sounded the alarm.
That sounds like a pretty big deal back then. Yeah. Were people listening?
Thankfully, yes. This led to the creation of the U.S. Commission of Fish and Fisheries in 1871. Baird's research on declining fish stocks really changed the way we think about managing our oceans.
So over time, the government had all these different groups focused on the ocean and atmosphere, but they were all operating separately. When did things change?
Well, in the years leading up to the 1970s, there was a growing concern about the environment. People started to see the connections between a healthy ocean, clean air, and a stable climate. It became clear that we needed a more unified approach to environmental stewardship.
It sounds like a pretty pivotal moment in our understanding of how everything is connected. What happened next?
In 1970, under President Nixon, NOAA was born. This was a game changer because it brought together all those different agencies under one roof: the Coast Survey, the Weather Bureau, the Fish Commission, and more. It was a recognition that the ocean, atmosphere, and climate are all interconnected.
So NOAA was formed, bringing together all these different areas of expertise. What were some of their early priorities?
Well, they hit the ground running. One of the first things they did was to really elevate weather forecasting with technology. They formalized the National Weather Service, and soon after, they launched their first dedicated weather satellite, NOAA-1.
A weather satellite.
Yeah,
I bet that gave them a whole new perspective, literally.
it absolutely did. For the first time, they could see weather patterns forming from space, which was a game changer for forecasting, especially for those dangerous hurricanes.
It seems like being able to see those storms from space would be critical for understanding how they develop and move.
You're absolutely right. And in the years that followed, NOAA introduced the Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellites, or GOES. These satellites revolutionized storm tracking, allowing us to monitor those swirling giants in real time.
That's incredible. So we could actually watch a hurricane forming and moving across the ocean.
Exactly. And not only that, NOAA realized that protecting special places in the ocean was just as important as understanding the weather.
What do you mean by special places?
Well, just like we have national parks on land to protect unique landscapes and ecosystems, NOAA started creating national marine sanctuaries in 1972. These are like underwater parks, safeguarding important habitats from coral reefs to kelp forests, an incredible array of creatures that call them home.
So we're talking about protecting everything from the tiniest coral polyps to giant whales.
Exactly. And they didn't stop there. Remember Spencer Baird and his concerns about overfishing? Well, in 1976, the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act was passed.
What did that act do?
It's a really important law that essentially put NOAA in charge of making sure our fisheries are managed sustainably. It sets catch limits, protects essential fish habitats, and prevents overfishing. It's all about making sure there are enough fish in the sea for generations to come.
It sounds like NOAA had its work cut out for it right from the start.
Yeah,
But they were also pioneering new ways to understand our planet.
they were. By the 1980s, NOAA was leading the charge in understanding things like ozone depletion and what we now call climate change. They even started studying those cyclical weather patterns called El Niño and La Niña.
El Nino and La Nina. Those sound familiar, but can you refresh my memory?
Of course, El Niño and La Niña are natural phenomena that occur in the Pacific Ocean, and they can have a huge impact on weather patterns all over the world. El Niño usually brings warmer than average temperatures, while La Niña tends to cool things down. NOAA scientists were among the first to understand how these changes in the Pacific Ocean could affect weather patterns on the opposite side of the globe.
So from its very beginning, NOAA was not only tracking storms and protecting marine life, but also unraveling these intricate connections between the ocean and our planet's climate.
Absolutely. They were pioneers in understanding how everything is interconnected, and their work has helped us understand how to protect the amazing planet we call home.
It's incredible how much NOAA has accomplished in just a few decades. They've truly revolutionized how we understand and interact with the ocean. But let's delve a bit deeper into how they track those dramatic weather events we all rely on them to predict.
You mean those nail-biting hurricane forecasts? That's where technology and human bravery really come together.
Technology? I guess I always assumed it was mostly satellites keeping an eye on the weather.
Satellites are a huge part of it. NOAA's National Weather Service uses some of the most advanced Earth-observing technology on the planet. Those GOES and JPSS satellites we talked about provide a constant stream of images and data showing how storms are moving and developing.
So we can actually watch a hurricane forming thousands of miles away, all thanks to NOAA's satellites. That's pretty amazing. But what about when those storms get really intense? The ones that make you want to stay far, far away from the coast.
You're talking about hurricanes, right? Well, as amazing as satellites are, sometimes you need to get up close and personal with those storms to really understand them. And that's where NOAA's hurricane hunters come in.
Hurricane hunters. That sounds more like an action movie than a science team.
It's pretty incredible. They are these fearless pilots who fly specially equipped aircraft right into the heart of hurricanes.
They fly into hurricanes. That sounds terrifying. What are they doing there?
They brave the wild winds and torrential rain to gather crucial data about the storm's structure, wind speeds, and pressure. It's dangerous work, but the information they collect is essential for predicting where a hurricane will make landfall and how strong it will be when it gets there.
So they're providing the critical information that helps keep people safe.
Exactly. Their courage helps meteorologists make those life-saving forecasts. Think about it. Someone flew into the eye of that storm to collect data that helps us understand what it's going to do next.
So we've got satellites watching from above and hurricane hunters braving the storm itself. That's a powerful combination. But what about those long-term weather patterns, the things that affect global temperatures and ocean currents?
You're talking about climate. And yes, that's a huge part of what NOAA does. Their Climate Prediction Center, or CPC, is constantly monitoring the ocean and atmosphere, looking for large-scale shifts that could signal changes in weather patterns. Remember those El Niño and La Niña patterns?
Right, those events that can cause weird weather all over the world.
Exactly. The CPC tracks those patterns and helps us understand how changes in one part of the ocean can impact weather on the opposite side of the globe. It's like the ocean and atmosphere are doing a complicated dance, and NOAA is figuring out the steps.
So they're not just looking at the immediate weather, but also trying to understand these long-term patterns that affect our climate.
Precisely. And speaking of long-term changes, NOAA is also at the forefront of understanding how climate change is affecting our planet.
Climate change is a big topic these days. What role does NOAA play in understanding it?
They play a huge role. They use satellites and other high-tech tools to track those changes. They measure how sea levels are rising, how ocean temperatures are warming, and how much Arctic ice is melting each year.
So they're gathering the data that shows how our planet is changing.
Exactly. And that data is crucial because it helps us prepare for the impacts of climate change, like more frequent and intense heat waves, droughts, floods, and rising sea levels that threaten coastal communities.
It sounds like understanding those long-term changes is just as important as predicting tomorrow's weather.
It absolutely is. NOAA's work gives us a glimpse into how our planet is changing so we can make smarter decisions today to protect ourselves and the natural world.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground, from mapping coastlines to tracking hurricanes to studying climate change, and it's all connected to the ocean. But I thought NOAA was all about the ocean. What about space weather? Isn't that NASA's job?
That's a great question. It might surprise you, but NOAA also keeps tabs on space weather.
Space weather. What is that exactly?
Have you ever seen pictures of those incredible bursts of energy shooting out from the sun? Those are called solar flares, and they're part of space weather.
They look pretty intense. Are they dangerous?
They can be. Those bursts of energy can actually disrupt our satellites, mess with communication systems, and even cause power outages here on Earth.
So NOAA is basically protecting us from solar storms.
You could say that. They track those solar storms and issue warnings so we can protect our technology and keep our world running smoothly.
It's amazing how NOAA's work affects so many different aspects of our lives. It really shows how connected everything is on our planet, from the ocean to the atmosphere to even space.
That's precisely why NOAA's work is so essential. They help us make sense of those connections and figure out how to protect this amazing planet.
So far, we've mainly talked about what happens above the surface. But what about the ocean depths? What's NOAA doing to explore those mysterious realms?
Now, that's where things get really exciting. We're talking about a world that's still largely unexplored, a world full of mysteries and incredible creatures just waiting to be discovered.
It's fascinating to think that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about our own ocean depths.
Exactly. And NOAA is leading the way in exploring those hidden realms. They have a special ship called the Oceanos Explorer.
The Oceanos Explorer. That name sounds like something out of a Greek myth. What does it do?
It's a floating laboratory specifically designed for deep-sea exploration. It's equipped with some incredible technology. Think advanced sonar systems that map the seafloor and remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs.
ROVs, those are like underwater robots, right?
Exactly. These ROVs are tethered to the ship and can descend thousands of feet, going places where humans can't.
So they're like our eyes and hands in the deep sea.
You got it. They have cameras, lights, and robotic arms that allow scientists to see and even collect samples from those extreme depths.
I can only imagine what they must have found down there.
The discoveries are incredible. They've explored towering underwater canyons, navigated the slopes of submerged volcanoes, and even ventured into hydrothermal vents.
Hydrothermal vents, what are those?
Imagine underwater geysers that spew superheated mineral-rich water from cracks in the Earth's crust.
That sounds like a pretty harsh environment.
It is. They're under incredible pressure with scalding temperatures and no sunlight at all. But amazingly, life thrives there.
Life can exist in those conditions. That seems impossible.
It's one of the most mind-blowing things about the deep sea. The Oceanos Explorer has found glowing bioluminescent creatures that light up the darkness, bizarre tube worms, and giant clams that thrive around those vents.
It's like another planet down there.
It really is. And these discoveries have completely changed our understanding of what life can endure. It even has implications for the search for life beyond Earth.
Really? How so?
Well, if life can exist in those extreme conditions, it makes you wonder if similar organisms could exist on places like Jupiter's moon Europa, which has a vast icy ocean beneath its surface.
So NOAA is not only exploring the ocean, but also helping us understand the possibilities of life beyond Earth.
You got it.
And remember how we talked about NOAA mapping the coastline back in the day? Well, they're still mapping, but now it's the seafloor.
Absolutely, and it's a huge undertaking. Did you know that over 80% of the seafloor is still unmapped? It's like having a giant blank spot on our map of the planet.
That's a lot of uncharted territory.
Yeah.
So how are they mapping the seafloor?
The Oceanos Explorer uses its sonar system to create detailed images of the underwater terrain.
What kind of things are they finding?
They're revealing incredible features like towering underwater mountain ranges, deep trenches that plunge miles below the surface, and the scars of ancient geological events.
It must be like looking at a whole new world. But why is it so important to map the seafloor?
It's not just about satisfying our curiosity. These maps are vital for understanding how underwater earthquakes and volcanoes work, which is crucial for predicting tsunamis.
So those maps could help save lives.
Absolutely. They also help us study climate change and how the ocean absorbs heat. It's all connected.
It sounds like mapping the seafloor is like putting together a giant puzzle, and each piece helps us understand our planet better.
That's a great way to put it. Every piece of information we gather about the ocean helps us protect it and ourselves. And here's something really cool. NOAA actually live streams those ROV dives on their website.
Wait, so anyone can watch those deep sea explorations in real time?
Exactly. You can be sitting at home and suddenly find yourself witnessing the discovery of a new species of deep sea fish or a never before seen coral reef.
That's amazing. It makes ocean exploration something that everyone can be a part of, not just scientists.
Exactly. It sparks curiosity, encourages people to learn more, and hopefully inspires them to get involved in protecting those amazing underwater worlds.
It's clear that NOAA's deep sea exploration work is about more than just satisfying scientific curiosity. It's about understanding how the ocean affects the health of our planet.
Absolutely. And it's about protecting the incredible diversity of life that exists in those depths.
Speaking of protecting the ocean, let's revisit those national marine sanctuaries. They sound like some of the most magical places on Earth.
They are. They're carefully chosen for their ecological importance and the unique marine life they protect. Imagine swimming through a forest of giant kelp, watching colorful fish dance through a coral reef, or witnessing a pod of whales migrating through crystal clear waters.
It sounds like a dream come true for any ocean lover. Tell me more about these sanctuaries. How many are there and where are they located?
Well, there are 15 national marine sanctuaries and 2 marine national monuments scattered all across U.S. waters. They range from the warm tropical waters of the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary home to colorful coral reefs to the chilly depths of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary in California, famous for its kelp forests and diverse marine mammals.
So there's sanctuary for every kind of ocean environment. What kinds of creatures can be found in these protected areas?
Oh, the diversity is incredible. You've got endangered sea turtles nesting on protected beaches, whales migrating along safe corridors, and even sharks patrolling healthy reefs.
Sharks. I thought sharks were dangerous.
They definitely have a reputation, but they're actually incredibly important for keeping ocean ecosystems in balance. They help control populations of other species and prevent any one species from dominating. And in these sanctuaries, they're protected from overfishing and habitat destruction, which helps keep their populations healthy.
So these sanctuaries are like safe havens for marine life, giving them a chance to thrive without the pressures they face in other parts of the ocean. But don't people use the ocean too? How do we balance protecting marine life with human activities?
That's a great question, and it's a key part of NOAA's work in these sanctuaries. They enforce regulations that limit overfishing and protect essential habitats like coral reefs and seagrass beds.
So it's about finding a balance between protecting marine life and allowing people to enjoy and use the ocean.
Exactly, and it's a balance that benefits everyone. When you have healthy protected areas, it actually helps replenish fish stocks in surrounding waters, which benefits the fishing industry.
So it's a win-win for both the ocean and the people who depend on it.
You got it. But NOAA doesn't do this alone. They work closely with local communities, fishermen, scientists, and even indigenous tribes who have been stewards of these waters for centuries.
It sounds like they're bringing together a lot of different perspectives to ensure these special places are protected for the long haul. But these sanctuaries aren't just about conservation, are they?
You're right. They also serve as incredible living laboratories where scientists can study marine life and ecosystems in their natural state.
So these protected areas are like giant outdoor classrooms for scientists.
Exactly. They provide a unique opportunity to monitor climate change, track the health of coral reefs, and study the movements of marine animals in a setting where human impacts are minimized.
It's amazing how these sanctuaries help us understand and protect the ocean as a whole.
They really do. Every discovery made in these sanctuaries gives us valuable insights into how to protect the entire ocean.
It's inspiring to see how NOAA is working to keep these special places thriving. And speaking of thriving, let's shift our focus to one of the ocean's most vital resources, fisheries.
Fisheries are a critical part of the ocean's ecosystem and our economy. They provide food and jobs for millions of people around the world. But as history has shown us, overfishing can have devastating consequences.
Right, we've heard stories of how some fish that used to be incredibly abundant are now scarce.
Exactly. Thankfully, NOAA is working hard to ensure that doesn't happen again. Their National Marine Fisheries Service, or NMFS, is dedicated to managing U.S. fisheries sustainably.
Sustainably. What does that mean exactly?
It means finding a balance between catching enough fish to support the fishing industry and ensuring there are enough fish left in the ocean to replenish the population. Think of it like this. We only want to take a small slice of the pie so that there's plenty left for the fish and for future generations of fishermen.
That makes sense. But how does NOAA make sure that happens?
They use a variety of tools and strategies, but one of the most important is the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act.
That's the law we talked about earlier, right?
You got it. It sets strict catch limits based on scientific data about fish populations. They also work with fishermen to develop fishing gear and techniques that minimize bycatch.
Bycatch.
Bycatch refers to the unintentional catch of marine animals like sea turtles and dolphins that get caught in fishing gear when fishermen are targeting a different species. NOAA works with fishermen to design gear that reduces this accidental catch.
So they're trying to minimize the impact of fishing on other marine life?
Exactly. And they also track the health of fish stocks over time using a tool called the Fish Stock Sustainability Index, or FSSI. This helps them see which fish populations are doing well and which ones need extra protection.
It sounds like NOAA is taking a very data-driven approach to managing fisheries.
They are. And they're constantly collecting information and adjusting those fishing limits to make sure everything stays in balance. But their role in fisheries doesn't end there. They also have a seafood inspection program.
A seafood inspection program, what do they inspect?
They make sure that all seafood sold in the U.S. meets strict safety and quality standards. Their inspectors check for contamination, proper handling, and accurate labeling.
So they're making sure the seafood we eat is safe and that it's labeled correctly.
Exactly. They also promote traceability programs that allow you to trace your seafood back to the source.
Trace my seafood back to the source. What would be the purpose of that?
Well, it lets you see where your seafood came from, how it was caught or farmed, and whether it was harvested sustainably.
So I can make more informed choices about the seafood I buy. I like that.
Exactly. NOAA wants to make sure you have the information you need to choose seafood that's good for you and good for the ocean.
It sounds like NOAA is involved in every aspect of fisheries, from managing fish populations to ensuring the safety of the seafood we eat.
They are. And their work goes beyond just wild-caught fish. They are also involved in supporting sustainable aquaculture, which is basically fish farming.
Fish farming. I thought fish farming was bad for the environment.
Traditionally, yes, some aquaculture practices have caused problems like pollution and habitat destruction. But NOAA is promoting responsible aquaculture methods that minimize environmental impact. They're supporting research into new techniques that reduce pollution, avoid harmful chemicals, and even help restore coastal habitats.
It sounds like there are ways to do fish farming sustainably.
Exactly. It's all about finding ways to produce seafood without harming the ocean. And NOAA is leading the way in that effort.
It's fantastic to see how NOAA is working on so many fronts to ensure healthy fisheries and protect our ocean resources.
It is. It shows their commitment to finding solutions that benefit both people and the planet.
And speaking of important ocean ecosystems, let's talk about one of the most colorful and diverse habitats on Earth, coral reefs. I've always been fascinated by the vibrant images of coral reefs. They're so full of life.
Coral reefs are often called the rainforests of the sea because they support such a vast array of life. But they're also facing a lot of threats these days.
Threats? What kind of threats? I've heard that climate change is a big problem for coral reefs.
Climate change is a major threat. Rising ocean temperatures and ocean acidification are causing widespread coral bleaching and making it harder for corals to grow.
Okay, I've heard those terms, but can you explain what they mean? What is coral bleaching and how does ocean acidification affect corals?
Sure, coral bleaching happens when corals get stressed due to things like warmer water temperatures. They expel the tiny algae that live inside their tissues, and those algae give corals their vibrant colors and provide them with food.
So when the corals lose their algae, they lose their color and their food source.
Exactly. And if those conditions persist for too long, the corals can die. Ocean acidification is a bit more complex. As the ocean absorbs more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, the water becomes more acidic. This increased acidity makes it harder for corals and other creatures that build shells to form their calcium carbonate skeletons.
So it's like trying to build a house with weak bricks.
That's a great analogy. Ocean acidification makes corals more vulnerable to breakage and disease.
Climate change sounds like a major threat to coral reefs. What else is harming them?
Pollution from land-based sources like runoff from farms and cities can also damage coral reefs. Overfishing and destructive fishing practices like using dynamite or cyanide are also big problems in some areas.
It sounds like coral reefs are facing a lot of challenges. Is there any hope for them?
Absolutely. NOAA's Coral Reef Conservation Program, or CRCP, is working hard to protect and restore these vital ecosystems.
What kinds of things are they doing to protect coral reefs?
They're doing a lot. They're working to reduce land-based pollution, promoting sustainable fishing practices, and establishing marine protected areas where reefs can recover. And they're at the forefront of research into coral restoration.
Coral restoration, what does that involve?
It's a fascinating field. They've set up coral nurseries where they grow healthy coral fragments and then transplant them onto degraded reefs to help them recover.
So they're essentially gardening underwater.
You could say that. It's labor-intensive, but it's showing real promise in some areas.
That's encouraging. Are there any other ways they are helping reefs deal with those big threats like climate change?
They are. They're monitoring coral reefs closely to track their health using satellite technology and on-site observations. This helps them identify areas that are most at risk and develop strategies to protect them. They also have a program called Coral Reef Watch that uses satellite data to track ocean temperatures and predict bleaching events.
So it's like an early warning system for coral reefs.
Exactly. And those early warnings give reef managers time to take action to minimize the impact of bleaching events.
That's incredible. Are they doing anything to address the root causes of these threats?
They are. NOAA is actively involved in efforts to reduce carbon emissions and combat climate change. They also work to reduce pollution and overfishing.
It sounds like they're tackling this problem from all angles.
They are. They understand that protecting coral reefs requires a multifaceted approach, and their efforts extend beyond U.S. borders. They work with other countries around the world to share research and best practices, ensuring a global effort to save coral reefs.
It's inspiring to see that level of global cooperation.
It is. Saving coral reefs is a challenge that requires everyone to work together.
It's clear that NOAA is a champion for coral reefs, using science conservation and international collaboration to protect these vital ecosystems.
They are, and their work highlights the importance of understanding how everything in the ocean is interconnected.
Speaking of interconnectedness, let's dive into NOAA's work, protecting some of the ocean's most iconic inhabitants, marine mammals.
Ah, yes. Whales, dolphins, seals, sea otters. These creatures are truly fascinating, and they hold a special place in our hearts. But they also face a number of threats in our increasingly busy oceans.
I love seeing whales out in the wild, but I know that they're vulnerable to things like ship strikes and entanglement in fishing gear.
You're right, and noise pollution from human activities like shipping and sonar can disrupt their communication and navigation.
It sounds like human activities are having a big impact on these animals.
They are, but thankfully NOAA is working hard to protect them. They've been doing it for decades, even before NOAA was officially formed.
Really? What were they doing back then?
Well, in the early 20th century, whale populations were being decimated by commercial whaling. Public outcry over the plight of these magnificent creatures led to the passage of the Marine Mammal Protection Act in 1972.
The Marine Mammal Protection Act. What does that do?
It's a landmark piece of legislation that essentially prohibits the hunting, harassment, capture, or killing of marine mammals in U.S. waters.
So it's a protective shield for these animals.
Exactly. It's been hugely successful in helping many marine mammal populations recover. But NOAA's work goes far beyond just enforcing the MMPA. They're actively involved in research, conservation, and rescue efforts.
Research. What kind of research do they do on marine mammals?
One of the most fascinating areas is tracking whale movements. They use satellite tags to follow their migrations across vast stretches of ocean. They also use hydrophones to listen to whale songs and other underwater sounds, which helps them understand whale behavior and communication.
I've heard recordings of whale songs. They're so beautiful and haunting.
They are, and those recordings provide valuable information about different whale species.
So this research is about more than just knowing where whales are. It's about understanding how they live.
Exactly. And this understanding is crucial for protecting them from threats. For example, by tracking whale movements, NOAA can identify areas where they're most vulnerable to ship strikes and work with the shipping industry to reduce those risks.
That makes sense. So knowing where they are helps us protect them from harm.
You got it. And they also work with the fishing industry to reduce entanglement in fishing gear. They're constantly researching new fishing techniques and gear designs that can help reduce the accidental capture of marine mammals.
It sounds like a big challenge. But I'm glad that NOAA is working to find solutions that benefit both marine mammals and the fishing industry.
It's all about finding ways for humans and marine mammals to coexist peacefully in our shared ocean.
What about when things go wrong, like a whale getting entangled in fishing gear or stranded on a beach? Does NOAA have a role in those situations?
Absolutely. NOAA has a dedicated team of marine mammal responders who are trained to deal with entanglements, strandings, and other emergencies. They work with local volunteers and stranding networks across the country.
So there's a whole network of people dedicated to helping these animals.
There is. They're like the marine mammal version of paramedics. They use specialized tools and techniques to disentangle animals from fishing gear, relocate them if necessary, and provide medical care. It's challenging work, often involving difficult conditions and emotional situations.
It must be incredibly rewarding to be part of that team helping those animals in need.
It is, and NOAA also plays a crucial role in educating the public about marine mammals and how to avoid harming them.
What kind of education do they do?
They have outreach programs that teach boaters how to safely share the water with dolphins and whales, emphasizing the importance of keeping a safe distance and minimizing disturbance. They also work with schools and communities to teach people about the importance of protecting marine mammals and their habitats.
It's wonderful that they're proactively teaching people how to be responsible around marine mammals. But I'm curious about something. We talked earlier about how noise pollution can affect these animals. What exactly is noise pollution, and how is it affecting them?
That's a great question. Noise pollution in the ocean is any sound that interferes with the natural soundscape. And it's a growing problem, especially for marine mammals that rely on sound for communication, navigation, and hunting.
So things like ship engines and sonar can interfere with their ability to hear and function in their environment?
Exactly. It's like trying to have a conversation in a noisy room. It can be really difficult to hear and understand what's going on. Imagine a whale trying to find its way through the ocean, or a dolphin trying to locate prey with all that noise in the background. It can be disorienting and stressful, and in some cases, it can even cause physical harm.
That makes sense. So what is NOAA doing to address this issue?
They're doing a lot of research to understand how different levels of noise affect marine mammals. They're also working on developing quieter technologies and encouraging the shipping industry to reduce noise levels.
It's great that they're tackling this problem head on. It shows their commitment to protecting these amazing creatures.
It does, and their efforts extend beyond our own borders. They collaborate with international partners to study and protect marine mammals around the world.
It sounds like NOAA is doing everything they can to ensure the well-being of these animals. But I'm curious about something. What would happen if NOAA didn't exist? I mean, we've talked about all the good things they do, but what would be the consequences of losing them?
That's a sobering thought. Losing NOAA would have a devastating impact on our oceans and our planet.
In what ways?
Well, for starters, think about those accurate weather forecasts we rely on. Without NOAA, those forecasts would become far less reliable, leaving us vulnerable to severe weather. Imagine not having enough warning to prepare for a hurricane or a major blizzard.
That's a scary thought. It seems like we take those forecasts for granted sometimes.
We do. And it's not just about knowing whether to pack an umbrella. Accurate weather forecasts are essential for agriculture, transportation, and even protecting human life.
Right. Farmers need to know when to plant and harvest. Airlines need to know about upcoming storms. And emergency responders need accurate information to prepare for disasters.
Exactly. And without NOAA's sophisticated monitoring and forecasting systems, all of those things would be at risk.
What about NOAA's role in managing fisheries? We talked earlier about how they work to prevent overfishing and protect those vital food sources. What would happen without them?
It would be a recipe for disaster. Without NOAA's science-based catch limits and enforcement of fishing regulations, we could see a rapid decline in fish populations.
So some of those favorite seafood dishes might become a thing of the past?
It's possible. Overfishing can decimate fish stocks, leading to ecological imbalances and economic hardship for those who depend on fishing for their livelihoods.
That's a big deal. It would affect not only the fish in the ocean, but also the people who rely on them for food and jobs.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect. And don't forget about all the amazing marine life that NOAA protects, from whales and dolphins to sea turtles and coral reefs.
Right, we talked about those national marine sanctuaries and all the creatures they protect.
Without NOAA, those sanctuaries would be far more vulnerable to pollution, overfishing, and other threats.
It sounds as losing NOAA would be a major setback for ocean conservation efforts.
It would be. And remember, their work extends far beyond our own shores. They collaborate with other countries on issues like managing international fisheries and combating illegal fishing.
So their impact is truly global.
It is. And their absence would be felt around the world.
It's clear that NOAA plays a vital role in protecting our oceans and all the creatures that call them home. But what about their work on climate change? We talked earlier about how they track things like rising sea levels and warming ocean temperatures. How would losing NOAA affect our understanding of this global challenge?
That's a crucial point. NOAA is a leading source of data and research on climate change. They provide the scientific information that policymakers and communities need to make informed decisions about how to adapt to a changing climate.
So they're helping us prepare for the future.
Exactly. Without their data and expertise, our ability to understand, predict, and respond to climate change would be severely hampered.
That's a sobering thought.
It is, and we haven't even touched on the economic impact of losing NOAA. Think about all the industries that rely on their data and services.
Like what?
Well, the shipping industry relies on accurate weather forecasts and oceanographic data for safe and efficient navigation. The fishing industry depends on NOAA's sustainable fisheries management, and coastal communities need their expertise on things like coastal erosion and sea level rise to plan for the future.
It sounds as losing NOAA would have a ripple effect throughout our economy.
It would. And let's not forget about their educational programs and their efforts to inspire the next generation of scientists and ocean stewards.
Right. They do so much to educate the public about the ocean and its importance.
They do. Their programs reach millions of people each year, from school children to adults, fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for the ocean.
It's amazing to think about the far-reaching impact of this one agency.
It is. NOAA's contributions extend far beyond their scientific research. They're protecting our planet, safeguarding our economy, and educating future generations.
It's clear that losing NOAA would be a huge loss for all of us. Their work is simply too important to ignore.
I agree. NOAA's mission is vital to the health of our planet and the well-being of people around the world.
So we've talked about the importance of NOAA and all the amazing things they do, but how do they connect with the public and get people involved in their work? It seems like they're doing some really innovative things in that area.
You're right. NOAA is a leader in public outreach and education. They know that protecting the ocean requires more than just science. It requires a connection with people.
Well, they're using technology in some really creative ways. Remember those live streams from the Oceanic Explorer that we talked about earlier?
Yes, those are amazing. I love watching those deep sea explorations in real time. It's like being right there on the ship with the scientists.
Exactly. And those live streams are a great way to engage the public and get people excited about ocean exploration. But they're doing so much more than just live streams. They have a fantastic website that's packed with information, interactive maps, and educational resources.
So it's a one-stop shop for anyone who wants to learn about the ocean.
It is. And they're using social media to connect with people, share their latest discoveries, and answer questions from the public. They're even using virtual reality to create immersive experiences that transport people to the ocean depths.
That's incredible. It sounds like they're using every tool in their toolbox to connect with people and share their passion for the ocean. But what about getting people involved in their work? It seems like they're doing something really innovative in that area too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're really embracing the power of citizen science.
Citizen science, what does that mean?
It means involving everyday people in scientific research.
So you don't need to be a scientist to participate?
Not at all. NOAA has a variety of citizen science programs that allow people of all ages and backgrounds to contribute to real scientific research.
That's amazing. What kind of things can people do?
Well, there are all sorts of projects to choose from. People can help monitor water quality in their local streams and rivers, track the migrations of marine animals, document the spread of invasive species, or even report sightings of marine debris on their beach walks.
So people can be citizen scientists helping NOAA collect valuable data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a win-win situation. NOAA gets more data to help inform their research and decision-making, and the public gets to participate in real science and make a real difference in protecting the ocean.
It sounds like they're really empowering people to take ownership of their local environments.
They are, and it's a great way to foster a sense of stewardship and inspire people to care about the ocean.
What about kids? Are they doing anything to engage young people in ocean science?
Absolutely. They have a whole suite of educational programs designed specifically for kids from elementary school all the way up to high school. They even have summer camps where kids can explore tide pools, learn about marine mammals, and even try their hand at oceanographic research.
It sounds like they're really committed to inspiring the next generation of ocean explorers and scientists.
They are. They understand that the future of the ocean depends on educating young people and fostering a love for the marine world.
It really is inspiring to think about how much one agency can accomplish. NOAA is truly a model for how science and public engagement can work together to protect our planet.
I agree. And speaking of protecting our planet, NOAA is on the front lines of tackling a threat that's often invisible but potentially devastating to ocean life: ocean acidification.
Ocean acidification is a serious issue. It's like a slow-motion disaster that's quietly changing the chemistry of our oceans.
Okay, I remember we touched on this earlier, but can you remind me what causes ocean acidification and why it's such a big deal?
Of course. Remember how we talked about the ocean absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere? Well, as we release more and more CO2 by burning fossil fuels, the ocean is absorbing more of it than ever before. And when that CO2 dissolves in seawater, it forms carbonic acid, which increases the acidity of the ocean.
So it's like we're turning the ocean into a giant acidic solution.
That's a good way to put it. And that increased acidity is making it harder for marine creatures like corals, oysters, and clams to build their shells and skeletons.
Why is that?
These creatures rely on calcium carbonate to build their shells and skeletons. But as the ocean becomes more acidic, there are fewer carbonate ions available in the water, which makes it harder for them to build and maintain their shells.
So it's like trying to build a house with fewer and weaker bricks.
Exactly. The shells become thinner and more fragile, leaving those creatures vulnerable to predators and disease.
It sounds like a recipe for disaster for those creatures.
It is. And it's not just about individual creatures either. The impacts of ocean acidification can ripple through entire ecosystems. For example, those tiny plankton that form the base of the food web can be affected by acidification, which could have cascading effects on all the creatures that rely on them for food.
So it's like knocking out the bottom rung of a ladder. The whole ecosystem could start to unravel.
You got it. Ocean acidification is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences.
Sounds pretty scary. What is NOAA doing to address this problem?
Well, the first step is understanding the problem. That's why NOAA has a network of monitoring stations around the world that are constantly measuring ocean acidity levels. This data helps scientists track changes over time and identify areas that are particularly vulnerable.
So they're keeping tabs on how acidic the ocean is becoming and where those changes are happening.
Exactly. And they're also conducting research to understand how ocean acidification impacts different marine species and to explore potential solutions.
Solutions. Are there any solutions to ocean acidification?
The ultimate solution lies in reducing our carbon dioxide emissions. That's the only way to truly reverse the trend of ocean acidification.
So it all comes back to tackling climate change.
It does, but in the meantime, NOAA scientists are exploring other strategies like restoring coastal habitats that can help buffer the effects of acidification. For example, seagrass beds and kelp forests can absorb carbon dioxide from the water, which can help to locally reduce acidity.
So it's like these habitats are acting as natural filters, helping to clean up our mess.
You could say that. And they also provide important habitat for a variety of marine creatures, so restoring these habitats can have multiple benefits.
It sounds like a win-win situation.
It is. And NOAA is also working to educate the public about ocean acidification and to advocate for policies that address climate change.
It's great to know that they're not just studying the problem, but also taking action to address it.
They are. Ocean acidification is a serious threat. But with NOAA's research, conservation efforts, and public outreach, we can hope to mitigate its impacts and protect the amazing diversity of life in our oceans.
Well, this has been an incredible exploration of NOAA and the amazing work they do. They truly are an agency that's making a difference. From tracking hurricanes to exploring the deep sea to protecting marine mammals and addressing climate change, NOAA is a true champion for our ocean and our planet.
I couldn't agree more. Their dedication to science, conservation, and public education is truly inspiring.
I think we can all learn a lot from NOAA. They've shown us that understanding and protecting our ocean is essential for the health of our planet and the well-being of future generations.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of NOAA. And remember, we all have a role to play in protecting this incredible planet. We can all make choices that support a healthy ocean. From reducing our plastic use to supporting sustainable seafood to advocating for policies that protect our marine environment.
Well said.
Until next time, happy exploring and keep learning about the amazing world of the ocean.